Welcome back to Catholic Bible Channel. I know I've been away for a while, and I had no intention of taking a Lenten hiatus, but life just has a way of working out sometimes, and I'm happy to be back. I know it's heavy news for a lot of us. I'm filming this Monday, Easter Monday, and with the passing of Pope Francis, it's a shock, and it's a moment of sadness, but also a moment of joy that Pope Francis is now going to meet his Creator. And I would just encourage all of us to, one, reflect on our own sinfulness in preparation for meeting our own Creator, and two, say a prayer for Pope Francis, maybe 3 Hail Marys, or an Our Father and 3 Hail Marys. He was our Bishop of Bishops here on earth, and we should appreciate the good work he has done over his pontificate. Having said that, I'd like to introduce the small Bible here. This is a pocket-sized version of a Douay Rheims Bible published by Baronius Press. And if you don't know anything about Baronius Press, if you go on their website, all of their work is excellent. All of it. I've purchased a handful of books from them, and they've all been top-notch. So you really do get a good product when shopping on their website. This particular Bible is 4.25 inches wide and 6 3/4 inches long. It really is pocketable, at least in my jacket pocket and some of my sweater pockets. If ever I go on vacation with my family, or if we're going to be gone for a while, I'll stick this in the vehicle or in a bag because it fits so nicely. And here I have a 6-inch ruler for perspective, and you can see it's just a touch longer than the 6-inch ruler. It's stitched nicely along the edges. It is a really thin piece of leather on the outside, but it's nothing to write home about. But the outside of the Bible pages are beautifully gilded, as Douay Rheims Bibles tend to be. And I know it's hard to have perspective because you can't tell how big or small it is, but it's a pretty small Bible. Now, my gilding here, you see a little bit here and there, I stick it in my pocket of my coat, and sometimes it gets scuffed up. But that's what happens when you use a Bible, and there's nothing wrong with that. The ribbons are a little bit on the weaker side. They're pretty flimsy and they're already falling apart. But these are very easily changeable. I personally don't mind, but some people really care about that. This Bible is unique because it uses the 1800s version of the Douay Rheims translation, the Chancellor version. Not the original one from the 1590s and early 1600s. I've tried to read that original Douay Rheims translation, and it's very difficult. It's almost another language, even though it says English. Reading this one is not too difficult, and I think most people really kind of fall into the rhythm of this translation pretty quick. There's not too much in this Bible besides the actual Bible itself, with the exception of a couple of encyclicals that you see listed here, and they put those at the very beginning of the Bible. So once you get past the encyclicals, you jump right into Genesis. And I'm sure you can tell by now, there's almost no margin space. It's a tiny Bible. It's pretty small text. But they do have some notes, the notes that are found in all the different Douay Rheims translations. I actually do use this little space at the bottom to take some notes. It's just enough to write down an idea or a question I may have or something I may want to reference, like here. So I write down a note here in Exodus that whenever you read a cloud in the Old Testament or fire, that often means Lord, as God is not in human manifestation at this moment in the course of salvation history. Now's a good time to give you a perspective. Here's a standard 3x5 card, and this is the kind of stuff you use to take your notes on. And you could see it takes up a good portion of the page. Not all of it, but it's 4 1/4 inches wide, so it's going to take up most of it, just for perspective. Part of the Bible's charm is, and most Douay Rheims have this, which is really nice, there's always some artwork included in the Douay Rheims, and I have a couple of different Douay Rheims Bibles, and they're scattered throughout the various Old Testament and New Testament stories. However, in this Bible, they give you just kind of like an area where they put all their images, and they look really good. So here we have Noah and his family getting on the ark. Or Adam and Eve getting kicked out of the Garden of Eden. And I'll flip ahead. Here we have Joseph is sold by his brothers. Or God appearing to Moses and being blinded. And I'll flip to some New Testament examples. Here we have the visitation of the Magi. Or Christ preaching in the temple as a child. The marriage feast at Cana and Sermon on the Mount. And these images look really nice. Here we have the crucifixion of Jesus and his resurrection. In total, there are 30 different images. And every Douay Rheims Bible I've seen also has a page like this for documenting the families, marriages, births, etc. And that's kind of a nice touch of Douay Rheims Bibles. Then we jump right into the New Testament. And for a small Bible, it reads surprisingly well. I don't feel like it causes much eye strain. Now, I do wear glasses as I read. But I have another pocket Bible that is much harder to read. The text almost clashes with each other, like they kind of jam the paragraphs too close or the words too close. And I don't particularly like it. But with this Bible, I don't have that issue. You can see, like, it's going to look pretty good. In addition, they still have their standard notes at the bottom. Okay. I don't think this version of the Bible, this Douay Rheims, is inaccessible to native English speakers. If you could read at a high school level, you can kind of catch on. The hardest part about the Douay Rheims translation, though, is in fact the names. The names in the Bible are often written in a sort of Latinized version, and they could be confusing. For example, Noah is not spelled Noah, it's spelled Noe, like Noe. In addition, some of the books are given different names, some of the books of the Bible, because they're given the more Latin name. And this is more of an Old Testament problem, but I'll give you the classic New Testament example. The last book of the Bible most people know as Revelation. Here it is called the Apocalypse of John. It's called the Apocalypse of John. And some other Bibles do that too, but this is you're always going to find this in Douay Rheims translations of the Bible. They do have some maps at the back, and they're very beautiful maps, even though they're small. But they look really nice. And the Baronius Press Bible has a really good timeline at the end of the Bible. So here we have like an overview of the Old Testament, and this is actually pretty small. This is harder to see, but it looks great. This Bible comes in 3 sizes. The content is 100% the same. There's 3 different colors as well, 3 different color covers. Again, the content remains 100% the same. What you're debating if you're going to pick up this copy is whether you want a pocket size, standard size, or large size. I do not have the large size, but I do have a standard size, which I'll review sometime in the future. But I highly recommend this Bible. None of Baronius Press's products are poorly made. They're all very nicely made, and you're going to get something very special, regardless of what you pick up from Baronius. So this has my enthusiastic 2 thumbs up, and if you don't have a pocket Bible, I can highly recommend this one. This is the first pocket Bible I've ever received, and my wife was very excited. She was like, "Oh, that fits nicely in my purse." And I was like, "Yeah, I think it does." So she's always been very fond of it, and there's something special about traveling with the entire Word of God in your pocket or a bag. And for that reason alone, you should consider picking up this Bible. If you have any questions, please let me know down below, and I'll be happy to help. Till next time, God bless you, and rejoice that Christ has resurrected, because Christ is Lord. Goodbye.